Today we're working on the car again. Last video we got the radiator fitted in here, just mounted, nothing else. Obviously one of the most important things whenever you have a radiator, period, technically, is shrouding. Without shrouding, the air will go around the radiator and won't actually go through it, and you won't have any cooling. This effect is a lot greater if your radiator is mounted at an angle, because then the air can't just flow through it. Actually hits it at an angle, and it would rather go around than have to go through there. So we're going to build shrouding around it to make sure the air is forced to go through the radiator itself and cool the coolant and keeping the engine nice and cool. Today's video I'm mostly going to be working, actually we're only going to be working on, I think, the exit portion of the shrouding. The in is going to be quite simple because it's pretty close to my inlet and everything, and I'm just going to make that out of sheet metal. It's going to have to be a few different pieces because this is welded into the car, so in order to fit in there it will have to be multiple pieces. But the outlet part is hopefully going to be one big piece of fiberglass. That is my plan right now. I was sort of tossing around the idea of doing fiberglass versus sheet metal like aluminum. But I think I have a good idea on how to do fiberglass, and it'll be light. I can make it one piece. It won't be all flimsy and wobbly since it would be one big piece of aluminum. The fiberglass will be nice and rigid. Building up, I'm basically going to build a frame out of wire, like chicken wire.
Like chicken wire.
Is with all four parts. As you can tell, it looks like there's a rabbit cage in my car or something. So in case you couldn't tell, my plans weren't really going as I wanted them to with this shroud setup. So I went to the store last night and I almost bought a bunch of aluminum and stuff to make it out of aluminum. You know, which I didn't really want to do because, you know, the stuff they sell at the store is thin. And I know I could go to a metal supply place, but just it was late, and I wanted to be able to do it this weekend. All the metal supply places are closed on Saturday, you know, blah 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 blah. So I'm looking around and I find this other stuff. I'll show it to you in a minute, but I found another way I'm gonna do it, and I think it's a lot better than using this like chicken wire stuff. The problem with this is it was a lot too like flimsy and flexible. It came rolled up in a circle, and I got it shaped pretty well, but once I popped it off of the radiator itself, it sort of deformed a little bit, and then since it's full of holes, I couldn't paint resin on it before laying the cloth on it, so that made it a pain. I was using fiberglass mat for a while. I had some more like this style fiberglass mat for a while, when I really should have been using fiberglass cloth, like the woven stuff. And I figured that out afterwards, and I still have all this fiberglass. I bought a whole bunch of it just so that I could have it, and I wanted to be able to use it. So let me clean up in here, because this is all a giant fiberglass mess, and then I can show you what the new plan is, which I actually have really high hopes for, because I don't know, it just seems like a better way of doing things. Alright, and then this is what we're going to use for our mold pretty much, but it's going to get encased in the fiberglass just like I was going to do before with the mesh stuff, which I still have loads of sitting over there. I'm going to go build a chicken coop as soon as I'm done with this video. But yeah, this is like the stuff that they use for signs, like political signs, you know? You can see that stuff. And it's fairly flexible, it's really lightweight, but it like doesn't get wavy and stuff. And my idea is I can cut out the side sections and hot glue them together with like the top section, so pretty much build the same shape. But I think it should hold its shape a lot better, and since it's solid, I can paint the resin on it and then lay the cloth down and it'll actually work and it'll be smooth and not all nasty and wavy. Oh no. Might help if you cut all the way through both sides. Shit. Alright, there's both my side pieces cut out and set in there. So now I'm going to hot glue the entire seam all the way up so it's nice and strong. I'll probably also do a seam on the outside. Alright, so here's the final product before I start glassing it in. This has taken quite a bit of time, but I'm pretty happy with how it came out. You can see there's actually a pocket that I cut out of here, pretty much with just made out of 2 triangles. That is so that I have space to run the hose to the inlet there. I also have these in the middle. These are not going to be permanent. These are only there because it was tending to bow out sort of in the middle section, so I just tied it into the center here. This was not bowing out, but that's holding it all together, and now it looks pretty good, and it's nice and rigid and solid, so I'll be able to paint the resin out on it. So I barely used any of this stuff. It was only 20 bucks or whatever for this giant sheet. That's why I got this giant sheet. So I'm just gonna lay it on here, clean this thing off because it's pretty dusty and I want it to be clean before I start laying glass on it. But then I'll start painting resin on it so I can start fiberglassing it. Yeah, I'll try to get it all glassed up tonight, so maybe tomorrow I can sand it and see if I can get it all fitted.
That was exaggerated. That people were oversimplifying the situation to say that this DNA didn't change the way you think it did.
It's probably just like one molecule off or something like that. It's probably not that big of a deal.
It's probably off though. I mean, what are they saying caused him? See, Google.
Alright, I'm gonna be honest. It's been a while since I filmed those last couple of clips. Been real busy with work, which of course has to take some precedence over this because YouTube makes me pretty much no money. So it is nice to, you know, be able to pay rent and stuff. But we're back, and we need to hammer some shit out. Today is April 7th, I believe. Maybe the 8th actually. No, tomorrow's the 8th. Today's the 7th. On the 22nd of this month is the first Time Attack event, and I need to be there. Like, no question. So, we need to figure all this stuff out. Last night I came in here and I sorted out the plumbing for the cooling system. Obviously in the beginning of the video I was working on the shrouding. I got the plumbing set up. I'll show it to you here in a minute. But we also need a radiator fan. Before I was just running the stock Subaru fan, so I picked this guy up. Hopefully the one fan should be enough. I think this radiator will be such overkill that it might just cool enough passively without a radiator fan, but I'll have that on there just in case, of course. Well, I mean, you need a radiator fan. It is what it is. So I'm going to run this thing on there. It's just going to be centered on there, and then the shroud will fit over it. I already checked. The shroud does fit, the new one. But yeah, it is the 8th. I've got, 2 weeks pretty much until the track day, so I've got a lot of stuff. I'll show you guys my list in just a little bit. Now that I've got the radiator fan sorted, my shroud, here I'll actually show it to you right now. My shroud is all glassed up, and last night I actually put this on here, which is long strand fiberglass filler, which is pretty much just body filler with a bunch of fiberglass fibers in it. And that made it a lot more rigid and tough, so it's pretty rigid now. Obviously it's not finished considering how ugly it is. However, really, in order to, because I made it a little tall, in order to cut it down to the exact height, I need to cut the hole in the hood so I can see where it's going to be, because the hole in the hood is probably going to be bigger than this hole actually. So I'm going to lay this on here. This is this vent that I got a while back. Shout out to Sideways Fab. You're the homie up there. Link in the description for his channel, website, all that stuff. He hooked it up with this thing. But in order to fit it to the contour of the hood, I'm actually going to have to cut the welds on the side here so that the whole thing can flex. And then I'm going to trace it out onto the hood and figure out where I need to cut exactly for it. So I'm going to start doing that and getting ready to cut a giant hole in my hood. So now it looks like the only thing keeping it from really going to the contour of the hood is because these slats drop down further. So I'll be able to trace the line out pretty well and cut it out. And once I cut it out, it will actually sit flush with the hood. And then I'll have to figure out whether I'm going to use that same piece that I cut off of here and modify it to fit with the curve of the hood. Or I may flatten this out, go get a piece of steel sheet metal and actually weld it around on the outside and sort of do that to clean it up, because that may work as well. So we'll see. Not important right now, just trying to make it work. So it's been a couple minutes, a little while. My dad has come over to help me out since we're on such a big rush. So that's awesome. This stuff here is signage from my girlfriend's work that I liberated from her since it was in the garage. And I cut it up into pieces because we are making the shroud to go into the radiator now. Because that is just as important as the exit shroud, and I haven't started yet. So he's actually at the hardware store picking up some steel, some aluminum sheets. These are my templates. So as soon as he's back, we can cut those out and hopefully fit them up and get them in there so that we can get some air flowing through this radiator. Oh my gosh. This is one of those tools where now I'm pissed off I haven't owned it before. You know what I mean? You're like, how many times have I cut sheet metal? Yeah, or like used an angle grinder and then the edge is all choppy.